Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to Central News for Tuesday, the 3rd of June. I'm Hilary Entwistle. The 46th New Zealand National Agricultural Field Days begins at Mystery Creek on the 11th of June and is expected to attract over 120,000 visitors over the 4 days it's held. Anne-Marie spoke with Field Days Commercial General Manager Nick Drumgoole to find out what we can expect for Field Days 2014.
Again, they'll see lots. We've actually expanded the footprint of the site to accommodate additional interest from exhibitors. Again, we've got a high degree of focus on our innovations, so a place to come and see what's happening in that technology area. We've got all of our events that people come to see, our ag artware, our fencing, but also this year we're being highly relevant in respect of a careers expo, a careers opportunity program for school leavers, and again a high degree of focus on our international business centre.
New Zealand has over 4,000 large lakes and the water quality of them has slowly been restored thanks to a team of dedicated scientists. Bay Plenty Regional Council Chair in Lake Restoration, Professor David Hamilton, explains more about the Lake Ecosystem Restoration New Zealand program.
Well, we've been funded by the New Zealand Government over the past 9 years, and in fact we get funded for 10 years altogether to try and establish methods to help in restoring lakes and improving water quality right across New Zealand. And there are two components to the program. One of them is centred around solving some of the issues with algal blooms and water quality, and the other one is around what we call pest fish, things like koi carp and catfish that have invaded New Zealand's waters and also cause problems with water quality by stirring up the bottom sediments and bringing in nutrients into the water.
Plans to remove the sunken aft section of the Rena will not be pursued after a sonar survey confirmed the change in movement during Cyclone Lucy has left it in a risky salvage position. Spokesperson for the ship's owners and insurers, Diana Shipping, and the Swedish club, Hugo Shanahan, says the survey undertaken after the March storm shows the aft section of the hull has moved on the face of Astrolabe Reef. The remaining accommodation block section now lies in water 24 to 53 metres deep, beyond depths typically accessed by recreational divers. Due to this movement, Hugo says the removal of that section will no longer be pursued, given it is no longer expected to release flotsam. It will therefore form part of the resource consent application proposal to leave the Rena section on the reef that was filed with the Bay Plenty Regional Council on Friday. Cambridge's temporary roundabout at the intersection of State Highway 1 and Shakespeare Street has been given a short-term reprieve. The roundabout was put in place to ease traffic congestion during repairs to Cambridge's high-level bridge. Repairs were completed in early May, and the New Zealand Transport Agency, which controls State Highway 1, confirmed the roundabout would be removed because of safety concerns. Waipa District Council has been advocating for the roundabout to remain. Today, in a joint statement, the Transport Agency and Council confirmed that discussions about the intersection were ongoing. In the meantime, the roundabout would stay in place at least until after the National Field Days in mid-June. Now for the region's marine forecast, West Coast Raglan. Turning late Wednesday northeast 15 knots, moderate southwest swell easing Wednesday. Your high tide is at 14:26. East Coast Bay Plenty, southeast 10 knots, mainly fine out there, and the high tide is at 11:45 a.m. Just ahead, the best steak in the country, where to find it. Welcome back to Central News. Cambridge farmer Colin Brown can be rest assured that the steak he produces is the best in the country, after beating 19 finalists to be named Grand Champion at the 2014 Beef and Lamb New Zealand Steak of Origin competition. He spoke with Anne-Marie about the win and what it will mean for his business.
Colin Brown, welcome to Central News. You recently beat out 19 finalists to become the 2014 Grand Champion at the Beef and Lamb Steak of Origin contest. Congratulations.
Thank you. We were thrilled.
Now, you breed 100 head of cattle on the shores of Lake Karapiro, and you breed them specifically for eating.
Yes, we're different from most other farmers. Meat processors pay farmers by weight. Our customers pay us by quality, obviously, so we're very focused on having the best eating experience that you can get.
Clearly, you have achieved that. You've been entering these competitions for about the last 6 years. You've got into the semi-finals for the last 5, and then this year, bam, you win. You're doing something right.
It shows consistency,
yes.
and that's exciting for us. A breeding program takes a long time. You know, it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So it's nice to get the recognition, and not just for our customers, but for our program to know that we're on the right track.
You concentrate on 3 breeds: the Angus, the Piedmontese, and the Wagyu.
Yep.
How do you go about doing the whole genetic breeding, scientific, whole thing?
Most of what we focus on is our Angus breeding.
Right.
So we're trying to get very special Angus cattle for eating quality, for high marbling, high eye muscle area, you know, lovely carcasses, and then we crossbreed with Piedmontese and with Wagyu.
And why specifically those breeds?
Piedmontese have a unique tenderness gene. They're genetically the most tender. They're genetically the healthiest of all the animals. They have less cholesterol than fish in their pure form. And of course, Wagyu is the ultimate, the most expensive beef in the world for the very high marbling.
Yeah. Now, you've also branched out recently into gourmet pies using your award-winning meat. Tell me about this.
Well, again, we think that's pretty unique to have pies that you know where the meats come from, that you know that it's award-winning, and that there's some pretty cool recipes in there as well.
So tell me about the flavours of pies we can get.
Well, we've got the traditional, you know, good old New Zealand chunky steak and mince. We then have like a mince and cheese or a steak and cheese, but we use aged Gouda with the meat. And then we try a little bit more adventurous. We Argentinian with all the flavours of the Pampas, but without all the chorizo heat.
Okay.
And then my favourite is the Italian beef and gorgonzola blue cheese, which is beautiful.
That sounds divine. How do people order these?
It's all available online at lakefarmpies.co.nz.
And the same with the beef, your meat packs, they're all online. This isn't something you can go into the dairy or the supermarket and get.
No, it's specifically on and exclusively online, and we only ship once a month.
Does that keep your costs down to the end user?
We think so. Our prices of our beef are no more expensive than the supermarkets. We think the quality is pretty cool.
Clearly, the quality is pretty good. If you've just been named 2014 Grand Champion, what do you think your point of difference is?
The eating quality. I mean, it's got to be the eating quality. So there's all sorts of things that we try and do to do that. There's an expression, breeding and feeding. Like obviously the genetics are important, but also the process of how they're fed, that we make sure that they're always on a continuous growth path, that they never go back into store condition. The environment's incredibly important. We, above anything else, the ethical side of how we look after our cattle is the most important thing for us. They're not here for a long time. We want their lives to be cool.
You mentioned to me that you also breed for docility. Tell me about that.
It's an awful expression. A happy cow is a tasty cow. But we think like it being in a very relaxed environment is important. As I say, the ethical side of what we do is incredibly important to us, and we want their lives to be cool. So if genetically they're a relaxed group anyway, it's just so much happier for everyone.
My dad used to say a calm cow in the shed gave more milk, so I guess that's a similar philosophy.
Absolutely. Every one of our cows have got their own name, and we talk to them and call them by their names, and I think that's all part of the process.
And what was the name of the animal that won the big award? We better give him some kudos.
Yeah, his name was Haki, which is Maori for John or Jack. So he was actually named after one of my in-laws, and his mother was Henny. So there you go.
Fantastic. Congratulations once again, and Lake Farm Beef is clearly doing great things and flying under the radar for a wee while, but not anymore. Your name is out there. Are you going to keep entering these competitions?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic event. Just to be a semi-finalist is, and we got 3 out of 4 through this year, is fantastic. Just over the moon.
Well done. You're absolutely world class. Well done.
Thank you.
For more details, go to lakefarmbeef.co.nz. Coming up after the break, the Greeton Library gets the go-ahead. Welcome back. After almost 20 years of fighting for a bigger library, the people of Greeton have something to celebrate. Tauranga City Council has made the decision to move ahead with funding the extension of the library.
The good news about the Greeton Library is it's in the annual plan. We've had the submissions on it and we're waiting until June, and hopefully they will agree to build it, and that they have agreed that it will be a new library, not extensions to the existing. So that is the good news.
For those who don't know, can you give us a little bit of history behind the Greeton Library and the fight with the council?
The Greeton Library has, the Greeton people, the people who use the library, which is 40,000 people from 11th Avenue right out to past the lakes, have been asking for a major upgrade for 21 years. And this has been off and on and off and on. We lost the battle for a much bigger library and a community centre 8 years ago. We've now got this plan that is for a 900 square metre library and will cost $3.45 million. We have $2.5 million in the bank, and we are looking for the last of the money to finally build it. Last year the council said yes, they would build it, and then we had the big floods and it got stopped because the council felt it was a frivolous thing to do to build a library. The new council came on board and they are not sure about building the library, but it is in the annual plan and hopefully they will see the benefits of it.
What have they promised now? I mean, how long is it until I can walk through those doors of the new Greeton Library?
I don't know. I would love to say October next year. I would really love to say October next year, but we don't know.
And there is also currently discussion over which block of land and which part to sell, I understand?
It will be built here where the existing library is. It will go a little bit further and it will open out onto the square, which will be magnificent. It will finish Greeton's village design, and that is just so special. But we are trying to convince them to sell what we call the subway block of shops instead of the Plunket land, because it will give us a better result as far as funding goes, but it will also leave us with a much bigger site to build either more library and a community centre or a community centre on later. It leaves Plunket in place because Plunket would be brilliant in a community centre. Hopefully they will listen to the reason behind all that as well.
With a new reservoir currently being built in Te Awamutu and resource consents being discussed, water is a hot topic for many people in the Waipa district. Anne-Marie recently spoke with Mayor Jim Milcrest to find out when completion is expected for the new reservoir.
Completion is expected at the very end of this year or possibly at the beginning of next year. So it's 8,000 cubic metres, about 3 Olympic swimming pools in size.
What areas will it service?
It services just the Te Awamutu area, and some water would be available, and that's Kihikihi as well. But it's just predominantly for the Te Awamutu supply. But that, when I say Te Awamutu supply, that takes in Prongia and quite a lot of rural areas as well between Te Awamutu and Prongia, where the water comes from off of the slopes of Prongia Mountain.
Is this reservoir going to replace an existing one or support?
No, it's supporting the existing network, so it's building on our supply capacity. But even with that huge increase, which just about doubles our storage capacities in Te Awamutu, it still only provides around about 2 days consumption. If our main blows out between here and Parongia, then we have to start managing water pretty intensely to eke out our supply.
Do you think water meters will eventually be brought in?
Look, I think at the end of the day, water is a huge issue right throughout the country at the moment, and certainly in Waipa where we have growth. And I think once people realise just how much water is wasted, then meters become a logical conclusion. And we have examples even within our own district now where in our unmetered residential areas, people are using about 250 litres per person per day. And yet where we do have water meters in Ohaupo and Parongia already, that's down to about 180, 190 litres per person per day. So you can see you probably get about a 20% saving by having meters. Now that delays a huge capital cost of increasing supply capacity. So it's in everyone's best interest to try and save as much water as they can. It puts off high capital cost projects and therefore saves people money. So I think once people understand that, then water meters are a logical add-on to the system.
People see the word water meters and think that's going to cost me, don't they?
Yeah, and certainly it's millions of dollars to install meters in all of our connected consumers, but at the end of the day, it also puts the power back in their hands to be able to manage their water consumption and actually save themselves money.
Now, field days are just around the corner. What does this event mean to the Waipa district?
Oh, it's a huge event for Waipa. It brings in hundreds of thousands of visitors into the district, and obviously has a major impact on the economy with accommodation and restaurants and things like that. But it also it demonstrates, I suppose, the state of our economy. Really, we're based on agriculture, and a flourishing field days just reflects that.
Jim, thank you for your time.
Coming up after the break, the Great Food Show in Hamilton. Welcome back to Central News. Hamilton foodies have been patiently waiting for a food show to call their own, and on the 6th and 7th of September, their patience will be rewarded. Hamilton's first premier food show will be making its debut at Mystery Creek Event Centre. Anne-Marie spoke to Michelle Connell to find out why Hamilton hasn't had its own food show before.
Well, I guess that's what we thought. So we're bringing the food show to Hamilton. So we've been a very much a food-loving region, and we've got so much happening here that it really did need its own dedicated food show. So we're delighted to bring that in September.
It's going to be held at the Mystery Creek Event Centre. What makes this venue so unique?
It's fantastic in its flexibility. So I think a lot of food shows are simply just tastings, and being held at Mystery Creek Event Centre offers more than that. You can actually buy a glass of wine or your favourite cider, you can buy something really lovely to eat, and you can sit down with that and watch some of the cooking challenges or the celebrity chefs cooking off, and really enjoy the whole day. And we also have free parking, which a lot don't have the free parking, and we've got buses that are running from the central city as well.
Tell me about the Best of Waikato, which is hosted by Waikato Food Incorporated.
Well, that is a new area, and they're just a fledgling organisation that is incorporating everything that's the best about the Waikato. So there will be lots of restaurants and wineries and food providers that are Waikato based, so it is great for the Waikato show.
And you've got celebrity chefs doing demonstrations as well.
We've got a great lineup of chefs. Annabelle White and Nikki Wicks will be each day. We've got Julie Busso as well. We've got Eugene Hamilton, who is the head chef of Euro, and we've also got our local star, which is Matt McLean from Palette.
I understand there's going to be a mystery box cook-off. Tell me about that.
Well, what it is there's two celebrity chefs cooking off against each other. A member of the public gets the opportunity to provide $15 worth of random ingredients and just gives that to them and says, do what you can with that, and they've got a short amount of time to actually whiz up something, and then it's judged. So it's a lot of fun.
Do you require more exhibitors?
We'd love more exhibitors. There's a lot coming, but there's still room for lots of people who just want to be at this at the show and just showcase what they have, their products or their whatever. Anything to do with food is welcome.
Tell me about the Wintec cooking classes.
Well, this is again something new for a food show, so you can actually get your hands dirty. There's 30 to a class, and there's 10 different classes over the 2 days, and they're all hosted by a variety of celebrity chefs. We've got Verena and Tanisha from MasterChef. We've got David Kerr, our local, one of our local well-known chefs, plus Eugene and Nikki. They're all going to be having those as well, and you end up that you learn a new technique or a dish you've always wanted to learn. You get the opportunity then to go and sit after you've cooked that and eat it and enjoy and have a Q&A question with the chef who's cooked it for you or taught you.
For more details, go to greatnewzealandfoodshow.co.nz. Now for our region's weather for Wednesday, Hamilton fine with light winds, expected high of 16 and an overnight low of 2. Paeroa the same for you, but a slightly warmer night with 5 and 16 your day high. The same for the rest of the Waikato, a fine Wednesday forecasted with light winds, Matamata 14 and 4, Te Awamutu 16 and 2, Tokoroa 14 and an overnight low of 0. Bay of Plenty, Tauranga fine with light winds, an expected high of 17 and an overnight low of 7. Te Puke, the same for you with 15 and 6 your expected temperatures. That is Central News for today. Like us on Facebook or email us if you have something going on in your community. Join me again tomorrow night for more stories from the Bay of Plenty and the Waikato. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.